is Jimmy Lee Combs. I'm a writer, director, and producer with Heart and Fire Productions, a company I founded back in 2006. And you can find my work at www.heartandfireproductions.com, and on Facebook, look me up under Jimmy Lee Combs. And yeah, and everything else kind of branches out from those two sites to our projects.
If you had to use one line you have written to describe the artist you started out as, what would that line be?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about that a lot, and it's a really good question, and I wrote it down here just so, yeah, that's something that I wrote for it. I said, as a hungry small fish in a big pond entering the world of filmmaking, Jimmy was filled with passion and excitement to share his artistic vision with the world through the filmmaking process.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
He's not an actor, ladies and gentlemen. He's a director, so he had to read it from.
That's right. I didn't memorize my lines. Yes, I acted in a long time, so I got to brush up on my memorization skills. That's right. You'd have me, the actor on set. Line. Near
the end of a project, what is the emotion you find yourself more often feeling, and how long does it typically last?
You're still on a high is a good word for it. You're drained, but you're still on a high, and you're very excited because depending on where you're at in the end of the project, you know, if you're a wrap, you know, then you're excited and on a high, 'cause you get to edit it and see it all come together in the editing room. If you're done with that process, you're still excited and on a high because you get to now get your work out there, you know, whether you're self-distributing it or finding distribution for it, festivals, exhibiting it locally. It's still a very good high to be on and excited. For the excitement for the project and to be promoting it and see all your hard work paying off with and all the crew and cast and stuff and everybody's hard work come together. And there's also a longing for it to be over too, in the sense where if it goes on and on, you know, you're still excited for the project, but also you're so excited for the next film, the next idea you have, that you want to get started on that as soon as you can. But it's harder to do when you're still, you know, finishing up your last project and getting it out there, you know, and probably until, you know, things are signed off and in the distribution phase and you get it out there, kind of start taking its own legs and break away from you, that you can finally kind of have that peace of mind with that film and move on to the next. So as you can see, the reoccurring thing is excitement and passion and energy for your current project and your next one.
Forgive me for my sins. Forever doubting in you and your undying love. I was a coward. But I need your strength now, more than ever, if I'm to defeat this evil.
Pumpkin, getting high to Zeppelin is a completely different experience than getting high to beer.
Oh, so you know from experience.
Your father and I smoked a joint or two to Stairway to Heaven.
Shit!
You're gonna do exactly what I tell you to do. And the first thing you're gonna do is sit there and listen.
You know, that's the second time that you've implied that I'm crazy. You want to see crazy? Because you ain't seen nothing yet! Slow down! Woo!
So what?
Stupid me!
I will bring hell on earth. Surrender to me, Father.
Take those words to hell with you, witch! Burn her!
You sick fuck, you're going to jail.
Think of all the damage you're doing by staying.
Well, who was it?
We just found another body. It fits the sledgehammer's MO.
What happened to your wife was the work of an antichrist.
Isn't it crazy how people always look up for answers? Now, those are some crazy ass people.
Dealing with critics, you've always found it better to what?
I think taking them with a grain of salt is good with critics. You know, it's just like with any kind of movie or any blockbuster kind of movie. You know, you'll have we can use Justice League for example. You know, you have critics bashing it and tearing it apart, but you have the fans who it's really made for, really praising it and loving it and accepting it for what it is and what a fun action-paced movie it is. Yeah, so that's what the thing I kind of take that attitude with my own films is, you know, when I read reviews on them, I definitely like to take the constructive criticism from reviews, but I can also kind of dissect, you know, okay, this film definitely wasn't for you, so you don't, you know, get it kind of thing, and you're kind of being a little unfair with how you're judging it and basing it off of. And then, you know, on that note, I think the one thing in general that I take with me at any phase of the filmmaking process, whether it's review or writing, is I really pay attention to like combined feedback and what multiple people are saying that are like, you know, unrelated to each other. You know, if one person in one state is saying this and a person in another state is saying that, and it's the same kind of criticism, then that's something I definitely like to take serious and look at, because it's multiple people that are seeing this, you know, this glaring issue, whatever it may be with the script or the film itself. And that I definitely take merit in, because I know it's not just one person, you know, being a hater or anything like that. When you're looking at anybody else's work and you're judging it, it's again using that word constructive. It's important to judge it constructively at any level of the phase. You know, I think when you get into filmmaking, you're very, you may even be a little more cocky, because you're like, yeah, I'm getting out there, I'm making my first film, yeah, you know. But you gotta, once you make it and go through it, it's what makes or breaks a filmmaker, because you see how hard it is, you know. And you know, so a lot of people think it is fun and games and yay, we're making a movie, and it's not. It's very tedious and challenging, and you're constantly against the clock. So, you know, with that in mind, when you watch other people's work, you can really appreciate and admire what they're doing. You know, you can sit there and pick apart what they did wrong or technical aspects and things like that, but as long as you're doing it, you know, constructively, and if you want to help that filmmaker, that's always great. But you got to definitely admire that they're getting out there and making a film, whether it's short film, feature film, whatever, and really hope that they continue with the craft.
I actually am a little terrified to ask this next question of you. If for people who get a chance to check out Jimmy's work, they'll know what I mean. You were a mad scientist and could actually bring one of your characters to life. Who would that be, and why?
Yeah, you know, that's another really good question. And I was thinking about that, because I do, you know, I've done a lot of horror stuff recently, so I'm like, oh my God, would I want to bring that character into the world? That would be mayhem. That would be bad. There'd be lunatics and psychopaths running around and possessed people. It'd be crazy. But yeah, but I really went back to my first short film that I ever did on my own with Heart and Fire Productions, called Betrayed Heart. And that's always gonna have a special place in my heart, because, you know, it was my first film that I did out on my own and with Heart and Fire, but it was also based off a very, you know, personal relationship of mine that I was going through with a girl. And that was my basis for the script, and that was like a nasty breakup and all that, and it really affected me. And so I acted in this film as well. So I put so much of me into this main character that I was playing.
Cool.
So I would bring, and the character's name was Travis Stone. So I would bring this Travis Stone character into the real world because I wrote a lot of wisdom into that character. Um, you know, about that situation and how it kind of wraps up and how he should handle that and try and move on and that kind of thing. And I think one of the reasons I bring that character to life because it is like a representation of me, but it's like a wiser representation of me. And that character kind of got how to move on and how he should have went on. And here I am, haven't really fully moved on yet kind of thing and hanging on to certain things. So it's like if I could bring that character in, it would be a wiser version of me.
Leveling the playing field where you never had to be concerned about money, time, resources. Give us one way in which you would be the same artist you are right now, and one way in which you would be vastly different.
I would be the same artist in the sense where I would still always have that excitement and passion for a project. I'd still be that same artist, still wanting to be able to have that creative control over my content and things that I write, and be able to follow through with that vision and not have to sacrifice or relinquish it to higher ups or anything like that. That real independent spirit that you can do on a set, having that full creative freedom. I think where I would be different and would be nice is I would be less frugal in the sense where I would be able to have that money to make the scene the best that it can be, and I would have that time on set to set up for that gorgeous shot that you want, because so many times you're on set and you have to sacrifice a shot because of time or an angle or things like that. I'd really be able to make it the best quality project that it could be, and not have to sacrifice in that sense, which would be nice, and everybody gets paid, which is good, which would be amazing. Everybody can get paid. Yeah, so there's a lot that could go with that. I think I would still probably fall back on my frugal roots. Just knowing me, I'd be like, why spend 10,000 for this when I can pull it off for 1,000? So I'm like, even though I have all the money in the world, I'd probably still fall back on my on some of my frugal indie ways and be like, I can pull this off for nothing.
Jimmy, tell everybody what you're currently working on, what they can expect to see from you in the new year. And
absolutely, yeah. So like I said, we've just are going through the distribution phase, which is exciting for our film Terror Tales. It's a horror anthology that's definitely a throwback to classics like Creep Show and the old school Tales from the Crypt from like the 70s, the Amicus line of horror anthologies. And that was a lot of fun to make this film. So I'm very excited to be getting closer and closer to release. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be announcing our distribution plan and all that good stuff coming up. And then after that, I would really like to get Spirit Reckoning off the ground. And this is a supernatural action Western that I've had written for a while now. And just because of my vision for it and how elaborate I want it to be, I haven't been able to get production going on it because things need to be right in the pre-production process for that, and having the time to dedicate to that. And definitely billing that as like John Woo meets Sergio Leone meets the horror genre. So if you guys are familiar with either of those filmmakers and mashing up those kind of styles is kind of the vision I have for this supernatural Western, which would be a lot of fun. I've been very passionate about this one for a while and trying to get it off the ground. So yeah, so when things are right and things align up right, I want to get that going. I've also been thinking a lot lately of kind of going outside of horror, which I've done a lot of lately, and doing a family movie of sorts. And those are actually very marketable as well. And being a father now of two, I feel I can tap more into the family side of writing and confidence of writing a film based around that, because I've never done a family style film before. I've always done such dark, edgy, horror, gory stuff, and probably the most lighthearted I've done has been romantic stuff.
Well, Jimmy, thanks so much for taking this little coffee break with me. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what's coming up next from Heart and Fire. And as always, my friend, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to take a sec to thank everybody who's been involved with Heart and Fire Productions on each of our projects and all your guys' hard work. Without you guys, none of these projects would have came to fruition. Bored as Hell, Terror Tales, Hans Crippleton, none of them. So thank you guys for all your hard work.
Looking at it on a big screen, are you one to go, you know what, I've seen it 100 times, it doesn't have that effect on me, or are you one to revel in what you've accomplished?
You know, I usually revel in what I've accomplished, you know, watching a film over and over, especially as you're editing it and watching it and seeing how it flows and making new notes to what you need to cut. And then even when it's, you know, a final cut of the film and you're watching it again and again, yeah, I think you definitely do revel in it because you are so proud of it. But you can also, the more you watch it too, I feel you can start breaking your attachment from it a little bit more and start looking at it more with more criticism and be like, oh man, that shot, I should have done it this way. I would have loved to have done, you know, this kind of angle or use this kind of equipment for that. You know, you can really start kind of dissecting your film more. And that's where you can really see, you know, mistakes you made or maybe consciously knew you made or discovering for the first time, and can make note of that to apply to your next film.